What is up, college football fans? What is up, Clemson Tiger fans? Happy Tuesday. It's a beautiful day here in the low country of South Carolina. It's always a great day to be a Tiger, even today. And like I always say, every day above ground is a great day as far as I'm concerned. If you're new here, this is a segment that I do every single week, the day following any Clemson football game. Win or lose, I come on here, give my thoughts about the game and about the state of the team and the program as I see it right now. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a while, and it becomes pretty predictable when you're on the air year round, right? Not just during football season, discussing football, making predictions, trash talking, the whole thing. It never really ceases to amaze me that once football season actually rolls around and they start playing games, how dumb the average college football fan is. I'm not calling all of you dumb. Some of you think I'm dumb. But just in general, you guys know the saying that things aren't always as bad as they look, and they aren't always as good as they look, right? Last night was a very bizarre football game. And believe me, if you're a Clemson fan, and I know a lot of you are that are watching this show or watching this video, or have a lot of things to be disappointed about and mad about and pissed about, and all of those adjectives that you can use to describe what we saw last night. But there's one reason that instead of doing an immediate video reaction immediately following the game, is because emotions are too high. So I wait till the next day. I can go back and rewatch some of the game, reprocess some of the stuff that happened, take a look at some of the stats, all that kind of thing. And which is what I did this morning when I woke up. But last night was one of the most bizarre football games I've ever seen in my life. It was one of those situations where it seemed like, every once in a while the ball will bounce your way, every once in a while it won't. It just never bounced Clemson's way. I mean, anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Now, first of all, I want to give credit to Duke's football team and Riley Leonard. They were well coached. They were the better team, flat out, period. Riley Leonard clearly was the better quarterback on the field. Give credit Duke's defensive line in particular. Gave Cade Klubnik a headache and a nightmare all night. And more importantly, whenever they needed a big play and were in a scoring situation, they capitalized on it. And that was really the difference in the game. I know people are going to look at the final score and say, oh my God, Clemson lost by 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that is true. But what if I told you that Clemson outgained Duke 422 yards of offense to 374? So the people that are complaining about Clemson's offense, yeah, there's a lot to complain about, and we'll get to that in a minute. But on any given Saturday, or in this case Monday, if your football team goes out there and puts up between 400 and 500 yards of offense, and we're not talking about they got a bunch of yardage in trash time when they were already getting blown out. No. As a matter of fact, the later you got in the game, especially the second half of the fourth quarter, they were going backwards, not forwards. So they were on their way to a 500-yard offense last night, up until the wheels completely fell off in the last, whatever it was, 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And by that time, they were so defeated. I mean, look, do we really need to even go through the disaster that we saw on both special teams and in the red zone? I mean, a blocked field goal, a missed field goal from like 28 yards, just a complete shank, right? 2 turnovers when you start 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, right? So those are huge swings in momentum and points, right? Big swings in points. And as a matter of fact, one of those plays was a 14-point swing because Clemson should have easily had 7 points. The turnover, the fumble was returned, into Clemson territory, and they capitalized and got a touchdown off. That's a 14-point swing in a matter of 3 plays. And then, of course, the other fumble on the 1-yard line, that's another 7 points there. And the missed field goal, that's another 3 points. But you add all that up, this is a very close ball game, if not a win for Clemson. Look, these stats prove it. You can get all the yards you want. If you can't get the ball in the end zone, then none of that. You could put up 800 yards of offense. If you can't get the ball in the end zone or through the uprights, it's all for nothing. It means nothing. Clemson ran 83 plays. Duke only ran 64 plays. Clemson had more first downs, 29 first downs compared to Duke's 18 first downs. Clemson won the time of possession battle. Clemson had 34 minutes of time of possession to Duke's 26 minutes time of possession, right? Running the ball, right? Let's go through some of the positives before we get to the negatives. Running the football. Clemson's running back room is as advertised. Will Shipley played his ass off. Phil Maffa played his ass off. Both of them played great. I don't have their stats off the top of my head. I know Shipley had well over 100 yards. I think Maffa had 65 yards rushing or something like that. And some big plays, too, for both of them. So, again, the offense wasn't as bad as it looked. The reason it looked so bad was the quarterback and receiver play. And now, look, that was a major concern for a lot of people coming into the season. I think a lot of people, including myself, were optimistic that Cade Klubnik was going to take that next step from from the bowl game against Tennessee last year into the first game of this year. Also, getting some of these receivers back. Right? We know what Antonio Williams is, and we know what he isn't. He's a great dynamic player, but he can't be the only guy, right? Adam Randall's, missed most of last year with an injury. He came back last night, and I think he had like 2 catches or something. But for the most part, he was on a milk carton. 1 catch, I think, by the tight end Brenningstool, and then you had like 4 or 5 other receivers, I think. With 1 or 2 receptions each, and then of course a bunch of receptions by Will Shipley from in the backfield. But this is the thing that I think that most people are overlooking on the receiving corps is you don't have that guy, right? You don't have that Mike Williams. You don't have that T. Higgins. You don't have that Sammy Watkins. I mean, just go down the list of receivers that have come through Clemson over the past 11 years. Every year, it seems like, because most people like to focus particularly on the dynamic quarterback play that Clemson has had. When you go back all the way back to Taj Boyd, and then you got Deshaun Watson, and then you got Trevor Lawrence. And so they want to focus on the quarterback, but really the two go hand in hand. You need a quarterback to get the receivers the ball, and it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is if you don't have receivers that can get separation and take the top off of a defense. Right now, it doesn't appear we have that guy. So that's a huge problem. The offensive line, for whatever reason, in pass blocking situations, not great. I mean, Klubnik had his own issues last night. First of all, Klubnik came out of the game to start the game looking like a deer in headlights. Like he didn't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was amped up, if he was nervous. A couple of bad overthrows. That one throw on that first drive, the last play of that drive, on 3rd down, should have been intercepted. The player just dropped the ball. It was a terrible pass. So I guess what I'm getting at here is there is a lot to be concerned about if you're a Clemson fan with this football team this season. I also will still say that the chances that Clemson puts up almost 450 yards of offense on any given week and comes away with only 7 points, less than 5% chance that happens again. I mean, some of those were just fluky. And these fumble turnovers, interceptions are one thing. You don't want to become an interception machine because then you lose your confidence and you just can't win football games when you're constantly giving the other team the football. But these fumbles on exchanges between the quarterback and the running, those things can be fixed. You can coach that. Hopefully the kicking game can get fixed. Now I will say, the punts are not bad, right? Actually, I think the punter's going to be pretty good. But the field goal kicker, this young guy, hopefully he just had the first game jitters or something too, because we got to have a kicker. We've been actually pretty lucky over the past 10 years or so and blessed with some pretty darn good field goal kickers. And hopefully he just, had a bad night or something, because if that continues throughout the season, that's a major, major liability. That changes everything. It changes whether or not you go for it on 4th and 5, right? If you don't have confidence that your kicker can make a 35-yard field goal, that could put you in a precarious situation. So the kicking game is definitely, the field goal kicking game rather, definitely a big time issue. As for the play calling, another thing I wasn't very pleased with. I will say, after looking at the stats, but look, the big thing with me, look, Will Shipley's a dynamic player, and he should get 15 to 20 touches a game, every week. But my biggest gripe has been the lack of use of Phil Maffa. I think that Phil Maffa is a dynamic player. He made some of the biggest plays for the team last night. Matter of fact, had he not fumbled that ball down to the 1 yard line, that would have easily been 6 points. I'm almost positive of it. But he did get 11 touches last night. That's nothing to sneeze at, and I hope they continue that trend. I'd like to see him get somewhere in the 10 to 15 touch range minimum each week, along with Will Shipley. So I like that aspect of it. I don't know if there was a game last year, maybe one or two, where Phil Maffa got that many touches as he got last night. But yeah, offensive line. Let's go to the defense here. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm going all over the place now. I wanted to talk about Garrett Riley and the play calling. A lot more of what we saw out of both Streeter and Tony Elliott prior to that. Now, the only thing you can take away from this is that they know they don't have that guy that can take the top off a defense and get separation. So, which is why you're seeing a lot of these short passes behind the line of scrimmage, or 5-yard passes on the sideline to a wide open guy, and just hoping he can break open a run after he catches it before he gets pushed out of bounds. And that's basically what we saw. I mean, it's very predictable. If some idiot like me, who's sitting in my living room watching the football game, pretty much knows what's about to happen on the next play, you better believe that the defensive coordinator and the defensive players on the opposing team have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen as well. So this could be a personnel issue more than a coaching issue. I don't, for anybody who's ready to bury Garrett Riley after one game, the first game of the season, breaking in a new quarterback, that's just silly and stupid. It's silly and stupid. Also, you know what else is silly and stupid? All the trolls who spent the past 2 years in every comment section on the internet, every thread on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram for the past 2 years, talking about how trash and terrible DJ Uiagalelei was. And the minute he's gone and Caden Klubnik comes in here, they come back in and say, "Oh, it looks like DJ wasn't the problem." Well, hey, dummy, you're the one that spent the past 2 years saying he was. Some people, man, I mean, it's like they don't realize there's a record and a history of everything that they've typed on the internet. All that just goes right out the window. But anyway, I'm not ready to close the door on Cade Klubnik. He's obviously a young player who has room for improvement. I'm certainly not ready to close the door on Garrett Riley as an offensive coordinator. The guy didn't forget how to coordinate offense from January of this year to August of this year. Now, some of the other position coaches, I think people are pretty much fed up with. Wide receiver coach Grisham, and honestly, I know it's only Wes Goodwin's second year as defensive coordinator. Obviously, a big difference from what we saw with Coach Venables. But A lot. I'm already starting to see a lot of chatter about, you know, the fans are going to be coming down hard on Wes Goodwin here. Although I don't really think I might be on an island here. I mean, that some of the tackling was bad, and they did not have any sacks. But you can credit Riley Leonard with a lot of that no sack thing. I mean, that one play, they had him dead to rights. It should have been a 8-yard loss on a sack, and instead he turns it into a 44-yard touchdown run. That was Leonard. That was all Leonard. He was under pressure a lot. I mean, he almost got sacked 10 times, but almost, you know what they say, almost doesn't count except for horseshoes and hand grenades, right? So they just couldn't finish on him, but they were getting penetration on him. And look, man, coming out in the second half, the defense was playing with their hair on fire. You know, their offense was driving down the field, getting all the way down to the goal line, fumbling it. Duke gets the ball, 3 and out, punt. Same thing happens again. So the defense, was a little bit up and down, but they weren't as terrible as everybody's making it out to seem here. So anyway, my takeaways from the game is a fluky game. Disappointed with the quarterback and wide receiver play and the offensive line play to a certain degree. Not so disappointed with the running game. Very disappointed with the kicking game. But a lot of this stuff can be fixed with coaching. And there's a lot that needs to be fixed between now and week 4. And I've already seen people, I said that I typed that on Twitter last night. I said a lot needs to be fixed between now and when we play Florida State. And people are like, oh, you forget Florida State. You got to worry about next week. Next week is Charleston Southern. The dog agrees with me, too. See? Anyway, that's going to conclude the video, 17-minute video. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you tonight for the ACC show. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this.